We've got several items on the agenda tonight, and we'll get started here shortly. Before we do, though, if you can join me in a moment of silence. Amen. If you'll please stand with me and face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item is our conflict of interest statement. Adam?
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to North Carolina general statutes and the town's code of ethics policy, I ask each elected official, before you adopt the agenda, if you have any actual potential or perceived conflicts of interest about any matter on the proposed agenda. If so, please speak up and let the board know at this time before the agenda is adopted.
We're all good. Thank you, Al. Next item is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Not, we'll just need a motion to adopt.
Make a motion.
We have a motion from Jenny, a second from Carl. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Next item on our agenda is our citizen comments. If there's anybody here that would like to step up to the podium and speak about anything that might be on your mind, if it has to do with a public hearing, that's going to be a separate time. But if you would like to say anything at all, this is the time to do it. You have 3 minutes. Just state your name if you would.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Tamala Tatum. Good evening. Mayor Markland and members of the board. I am here representing Heritage Alliance Project, which is a newly organized nonprofit here in the community. And I'm here tonight to say thank you for the expedient manner in which you addressed our concerns regarding the fading traffic lines on East Depot Street and Railroad Street. The newly painted lines certainly enhance the look of the community down there, but most importantly, it ensures safety of the traffic flow. So I'm here to say thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with any positive words? So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing time, and now, close the citizen comment time, and we'll go to our public hearing. We do have a public hearing tonight about a zoning map amendment. Matthew Wooten of Wayne Farms has applied to rezone approximately 0.94 acres, and Johnny Easter is going to present it to us.
Thank you, Mayor Markland. Board, tonight I present zoning map amendment TOM 24-J5-0009. The request is Matthew Wooten of Wayne Farms has requested a rezoning of approximately 0.94 acres from Town of Mocksville Town Center to Town of Mocksville SP, which is special purpose. The subject property is located at 154 William Street. The subject property is located off of Williams and Depot Street and is further described as Davie County Tax Parcel J501080009. The current zoning district is Town Center. The land use plan identifies this as special business. It does not end the watershed. There is no cross-reference files for this as well. The applicant, as stated earlier, is Matthew Wooten of Wayne Farms. The property size is 0.94 acres. The current land use is a non-conforming general industrial use currently. The proposed land use is SP special purpose. The surrounding zoning to the property is identified here to the north of the property is an industrial use currently, and its zoning is SP. To the east of the property is industrial commercial. It's town center and highway commercial. To the south of the property is a residential, it's town center, and to the west of the property, it's a non-conforming industrial use, and it is zoned as town center. The proposed land use, the proposed zoning is a special purpose zoning district. It has been established to accommodate uses that may constitute health or safety hazards and have a greater than average impact on the environment or diminish the use and enjoyment of nearby traffic that generate noise, smoke, fumes, odors, glare, vibration, and commercial vehicle traffic. The town of Mocksville Land Use Plan identifies this area as central business. Planning staff recommendation, and the town of Mocksville, as stated earlier, identifies in the comprehensive plan as this essential business. The property is currently a non-conforming industrial use and will be an extension of the neighboring approved industrial use. Based upon the following factors, the planning staff is in favor of the proposed zoning map amendment. And tonight I would ask this board to approve, deny, or defer for additional consideration. It should be duly noted at the, May planning board meeting, it was unanimously approved. So at this time, I'd be more than happy to address any questions that this board may have.
Any questions for Johnny?
Yeah, do you know what they plan to put there?
Initial conversations with them, we kind of had a lot of discussions with them. They were looking to it's the show concrete plant down to tear it down, and then we're going to look at extending parking for the initial property. But it being non-conforming in a town center, after taking it back to them with discussions with myself and Mr. Gamble, they decided to go and just say, hey, look, we don't know non-conforming. We'll just incorporate it all with the same zoning district. So that was kind of the purpose of that.
Any other questions for Johnny? Thank you, Johnny. So at this time, this is a public hearing, and the way this works, we'll open up the public hearing. If anybody's here that would like to speak against the zoning amendment, you can do that. Then I'll ask if anybody would like to speak in favor of it. Then we'll close the public hearing, and then the board will discuss it and make a motion to approve, deny, or table. So at this time, if anybody would like to come to the podium and speak against the zoning amendment. Okay. And if there's anybody here that would like to speak in favor of the zoning amendment. Okay. So we will close the public hearing, and then we'll go to the board. Is there any additional discussion from the board, or do you have any questions?
Make a motion to approve, this would be 3A, to consider statement of consistency and reasonableness per NC General Statute,
So we have,
Section 160D-605.
okay, we have a motion from Carl,
Second.
a second from Johnny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the first part passes, and then the next motion, item B. I need a
I'll make a motion to consider the zoning map amendment. Well, let's see, where am I at here?
Just do 3B.
3B. Where's 3B? All right, consider the zoning map amendment to the zoning ordinance.
So a motion from Justin, and a second from Carl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is a public hearing for the fiscal year 24-25 annual budget.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, members of the public. We'll be brief and just to let the people here know who are not familiar with the budget process, we start working on this in December every year. So by the time the board hears this budget presentation, they've heard most of it at least a couple of times, if not several times. But in the interest of transparency, and we're beginning to record our meetings, want to make sure we get the full presentation in tonight. So as we looking at the budget, number one, we present a balanced budget because it's smart, but it's also required by state statute. We also try to balance the needs of our staff and the abilities of our staff with the workload that has to be done to make sure the town can go about the things that it does to deliver services to the community. In addition to that, we're balancing efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is how cheaply and fast you can do something. Effectiveness is what are you actually getting done. So we want to make sure we get it done in the cheapest way possible, but also that we're not doing it so cheap we're not getting the mission accomplished. And always, we're going to be looking to our mission, vision, and values as we're formulating the budget, as we're executing the services that we do for the town. We want to stay consistent with that. So number one, we want to be strategic, and that means we're looking first at our internal weaknesses. What are the things that we need to do to address through our budget that we need to take care of? So the first is aging and failing equipment and facility needs. In the area of streets and sidewalks, we're looking at pedestrian safety, resurfacing and maintenance, connectivity, that's specifically sidewalk connectivity, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and also finishing our streetscape project. From the perspective of the town departments, we're looking at the fire apparatus, looking at the aging condition. We've already ordered a new fire apparatus. That's going to take 3 years to get here. So it's not only ordering it, but it's figuring out how we're going to pay for that when it gets here. We're considering looking at sites for a future Station 2 sometime in the future. We're looking at the equipment life cycle, and that includes equipment all across the town. And that the leaf and the dump trucks, turnout gear for the fire department, and the town hall brick paver replacement on a smaller scale project. On the water and sewer side, we're preparing for the Davie County water interconnection, so we've got some money in the budget specifically to make sure that that's a smooth transition in a little bit less than 2 years now. And we're looking at the North Area 40 and the needs that are there as far as infrastructure. So this coming year in the budget, we're funding a leaf truck and a Kubota attachment for Parks and Grounds, a dump truck, a used dump truck for Public Works, the paver replacement at Town Hall, fire gear and emergency equipment for the fire department, and also intersection road and sidewalk improvements totaling $333,000. That's out of general fund budget. That's not including the grant projects we have. And speaking of grant-funded projects, we're going to complete the last stage of the wayfinding sign project almost 2 years early. We're going to address issues on West Depot Street sidewalk right there at the pool hall where the step-off is not ADA compliant. We're going to fix all of that. We're going to look at Main Street and Gaither Street and upgrade that intersection so we have really good, safe pedestrian crossways, because that is a very heavily trafficked area for pedestrians. We're looking at our community center and some location for a farmer's market as we get to the end of the process of purchasing the Energy United property. And we're also looking at replacing the decorative street lights and upgrading those lights to LED. So in the area of insufficient staffing for workload, we're looking specifically in the enterprise fund and the need for 2 meter readers. We've talked a lot, and Brian's talked with the board about all of the different developments going in, and it's fantastic to have all these new housing units going in, but when you put 700 houses over a few years, you've got a lot more water meters to read, and we still read those manually. It takes 13 days in a given billing cycle to read all of those meters. And also looking at the sewer plant technician. So being strategic in our viewpoint, training somebody now, because we know in a couple of years that EnviroLink contract, if we can get someone in place on staff who can do the sewer plant and be the technician and the caretaker, we can save $250,000 on that contract that we do with EnviroLink. So the other side of that is our turnover rate and shortage of certified staff. So we are looking at raising the full-time firefighter pay, a 3% COLA for our full-time staff people, In the last 5 years, the COLA has been a little 3.1% under the inflation rate, so that 3% gets us right under inflation. 2.5% raise for all of our part-time staff. That's primarily firefighters, but that is also applied to some parks and grounds people that we have on a part-time basis. And a 2% retention bonus. So currently for this year, our turnover rate is 22%. Industry best practice is 10% or less. So for full-time staff who are working for the town July 1st of this year, and they remain employed with the town until June 30th of next year, they will be looking at a 2% retention bonus at the end of that time. But they have to meet job expectations, right? They have to be doing that good job for the town. So the other things we're looking at is doing the zoning ordinance rewrite, which we're gonna be doing an RFP for that. That'll be for this year, and then next year, next budget year, we will be looking at the comp plan update. So the cost for doing both of these in the same year was cost prohibitive. So when we send out the RFP, it's gonna be specific zoning ordinance this year, and then using the same provider to do the comp plan update the following year. So in the area of external threats, what's going on in the marketplace? So inflation's always an issue. The county's looked at this. We've looked at this. Everybody who has a family or a home account is looking at inflation. So even though inflation is decreasing, it's still, the impacts continue to persist. So we're still looking at those construction costs being higher. We're still looking at just about everything being more expensive. So we've increased our energy and fuel line items in the budget. We've seen some contract renewal increases, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. But we're also seeking over $13 million in grant funding, trying to secure additional funding to do those projects where we don't have to increase fees, we don't have to increase the tax rate, but we're still able to get good amenities and good projects in the town. The region is at full plus employment, so we are chronically understaffed, specifically in Public Works and Fire. Public Works just got fully staffed, so we want to hope that that continues on. We're still understaffed in Fire though, so Emily does a fantastic job, and she works with Frank, she works with Brian, trying to figure out any kind of way that we can attract people for these open positions. We go out to the high school, we talk to Elise about getting internships. We're open to having people come in and do summer internships. So anything that we can do to get those positions filled by somebody who will stay here. But we have to remain competitive in the marketplace if we're going to be an employer of choice, which is one of our strategic goals. Everybody knows about the supply chain disruptions. I won't speak much on that. So we are focusing on that maintenance and trying to keep parts on hand for things that we know that we're going to fix on a regular basis, but also just making sure we can fix what we have so we don't have a lot of downtime on things. So this coming year on the infrastructure side, we have the 12-inch water main extension and 500,000 gallon elevator and tank projects going on. We have general pump station improvements that we're going to be doing. We have the South Point pump station and force main, and you all are going to hear the bid information on the 500,000 gallon tank and South Point pump station here in a little while. We have the 601 South water interconnection projects, street paving and sidewalks that we're looking at, but more focusing on that sidewalk connectivity because that's something that's really come out in the last couple of meetings of the board, that you all want to see the sidewalks connected. And then we have $10 million of that $13 million I told you about a minute ago. That's all infrastructure focused. And then we're also working through the spot process, working with DOT to try and get some of these sidewalk projects plugged in as well. And then the future, we have to be thinking about how are we going to replace that sewer line all the way down to Coolamy. That's, we like to think it's longer term future, but that's closer than we probably want it to be. So let's talk a few minutes about sidewalk connectivity. So we have a great system of sidewalks, but not all of them go places. And when the roundabout was installed, that really exposed some of that lack of connectivity in that area. There are 2 current NCDOT projects that address sidewalks in both those areas that we're going to talk about tonight. But the thing is, DOT doesn't have any money for bike and ped projects. So we're looking at a 2 to 4 year window before we could get any kind of DOT funding. So the areas we're talking about now, this is Yadkinville Road going from the roundabout up past Camden Point Apartments to the Walgreens. It's about 1,500 feet. As you can see, the apartments put in sidewalks when they built the apartments. Then you've got the sidewalk up there at Walgreens, and we're taking it down Yadkinville Road to connect to the existing sidewalk with the roundabout. Unfortunately, our GIS map has not been updated to include the roundabout. So that project is around $550,000. We used the NCDOT calculator. What they told us is that's going to be a high price for construction for the entire project. But I wanted to provide the board with some cost information to give you some guidance on what things might cost and in ranking what projects are more expensive than others. So that's the first thing.
Hey, Ken, before you leave that one.
Yeah.
Is that gonna require a curb to put in on that Yakima Road?
Say that one more time.
Will it require a curb to build a sidewalk? Because in front of the apartment complex where the wavy sidewalk is,
There's no curve
No curve.
there because it's far enough off the side of the road where they didn't have to put a curb. If we're most likely going to have to do the curb and guttering for the new section, so unless we can get property owners to give us enough right of way to push it back. But once you get down to the business side, that's going to be problematic
okay.
further down the road. But good question. So the second segment is about a 1,500-foot section from Maroney Street all the way to the roundabout, going up Wilkesboro Street. With this one, there are so many light poles that are right at the edge of the road on the left-hand side of the road. If we do a sidewalk extension here, we're going to have to make the pedestrian cross the street where the existing sidewalk is and then go down the other side of the road because you're just not going to be able to fit a sidewalk on that side of on the road. And the cost for that is about $643,000. The third segment that we're looking at is going down Wilkesboro Street and extending from Valley Road all the way to the senior center. So there's some little pieces of existing sidewalk that are not showing on the GIS map. So that red line, not all of that is new sidewalk. Some of it is what's in the roundabout now. There's a little piece of sidewalk like going up right at the senior center now. That is roughly 1,600 feet and cost of about $720,000. And then finally, we talked about a section going down Milling Road from Main Street all the way to the apartment complex. That's the longest section, about 2,800 feet and about $920,000. So from the feedback from the board discussion last time, we had talked about these segments and then said we would get some public input on ranking them. We can come back in July and see how they were ranked and then start that RFP process to get an engineering firm to start doing the design on this and actually get a construction cost for it. But that gives you some basic ideas of where these extensions are, and they are connecting to existing sidewalks in the town system. Any questions on that specific part of the presentation? Okay, so moving right along.
Make a comment. I think we talked about ranking, but we talked about board consensus of back the other way, Wilkesboro Street particularly, so just for the record. We did talk about Wilkesboro Street. We talked about ranking, but we talked about
So
board consensus on
what
Wilkesboro
specific
Street.
part are we talking about?
Specifically Wilkesboro Street.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so moving into this budget year, partnerships, of course, are extremely important, like they always are. So we've got a great relationship with the Sheriff's Department. We've celebrated our 3rd anniversary of having their service and just executed a 5-year renewal on that contract. In the water and sewer area, of course, we're looking forward to the completion of the water treatment plant in Coolamy and having that regional solution instead of everybody building their own water plant. We're gonna make sure we're doing what's best for the entire community. And also with the fire service. So I can't thank the county enough for, we get our fire tax from the areas incorporated and unincorporated that the county collects. They send that to us, but they also have decided over the last couple of years to provide additional funds to the fire department. So those additional funds allowed us to, it helped us get to that full-time status, a couple of years ago. So we really appreciate that partnership with the county as well. So looking at general fund and enterprise fund, revenues a little over $12.7 million. That's almost a 17% increase from last year. Primarily ad valorem, interest income, and sales tax growth. On the enterprise fund, plus 25.4%. A lot of that is Breakbush being at full production, so that's revenue based, but it's also strong residential development, getting the tap fees for those new construction, and our new system development fees. On the expenditure side, as we said before, we are required to pass a budget. We're required to have a balanced budget. So all of those things are follows through on the expenditure side as well. So looking in the general fund, $7.3 million. Again, what we said before, the ad valorem, sales tax, and interest income have been the main drivers there. And what we're doing with this money on the expenditure side is increasing the full-time salaries for firefighters, increasing the part-time pay, and increasing the capital reserve fund. So we ordered that new fire truck. It'll be here in 3 years. Because of the amount that we're now putting in the capital reserve fund and the money we already have on hand, that fire truck, we will have the funds to pay for that altogether. We won't have to do any debt service on that. Equipment replacement, we're looking at facility improvements. Contract, we did have some contract renewal increases, which I'll talk about in a minute. The zoning ordinance rewrite, the streetscape project, finishing that up, and street and sidewalk improvements, and the 3% COLA and 2% retention bonus. So we're doing quite a bit with our budget this year. On contract renewal side, the Sheriff's Department had a 9.4% increase going into this budget year with a 3% annual increase. The Republic Services, we had a 12% increase with them, and they also have an annual that's based off CPI West that is put out every year. So I want to make a point on this though. The increases in both of these we absorbed due to increased revenues. We're not passing on the Republic Services charges to our customers. We're not passing on the law enforcement services increase to the customers in any kind of fee. So the garbage and recycling fees are going to remain the same. And the good news, it's always good to have a little bit of good news in the budget year. Our health insurance renewals, we are going with the league this year, and there's not going to be any kind of increase in the line item required for that. Just to give you an idea of where the revenues come from, almost half come from the property tax, and then another 20% come from sales and use. So that's 65% of our budget is based on how well the economy is doing and how well people are paying their property taxes. On the expenditure side, just to give you an idea, and this is pretty consistent with other communities. Our biggest part of our budget is public safety. That's fire department, law enforcement make up about 38% of our budget. And that is consistent with other full-service communities. Moving on to the enterprise fund, we have revenues $5.3 million plus. This does include a 6% water and a 10% sewer increase recommended by Reptelis. The first full year of our system development fees, we're estimating that we will collect almost $160,000 for that, and that is based on all the development we're having. We have a 25.4% increase over last year, but that is matched strict by revenue growth. It is not debt-based, it's not grant-based, it's all matched by the growth of the revenues. On the expenditure side, the water is a little over 1.6 million, sewer is 2.7 million, and capital projects are a little bit under $1 million. The water supply interconnection projects for the going online with the new water plant, $500,000. We have some pump station improvements that need to be made. And then we have the lead service line inventory. We did receive notification from the state on a $300,000 loan for this, but it didn't make sense to go into that loan and have that $60,000 being pulled out of the budget for the next 5 years as a loan payment. A lot of the work has already been done on the ground with the AIA grant with Chuck, and Brian's staff has done a lot of the background work. So we're going to pay Chuck some extra money and get everything we need to do for the state and save us about $270,000 if that's okay.
That's better.
Okay, I thought it might be. And debt service is $242,000. That's included in the sewer total. That's for the loan for all of the improvements at the sewer plant. And we misspoke last month. I believe we had said that was a 40-year loan. That's a 20-year loan.
Okay.
So that's a lot better. Contracts and insurance is a little under $60,000. So on the revenue stream, you'll see that water fees are about 44%, sewer fees are about 45%, and then the other is just the miscellaneous expenses. Enterprise fund is expected to be run like a business. That means it needs to make enough money to pay its bills and do the things that it needs to do. And that includes what we're doing with our capital projects, with the philosophy that we're not going to borrow money, we're going to pay as we go on these projects. On the enterprise fund side revenues, you see that the water department's 30% of the expenditures, sewer department is 47%. The disparity there is because we are now going to be transitioning from treating all of that breakbush sewer at our own plant. We're going to be a customer for Davie County on that side. So that did significantly increase our sewer treatment cost. Because we're selling that to the county. We're paying the county to do it for us, rather. Okay, so I know I went through that pretty quick, but you all have heard all this information time and again. This is the time for you all to discuss. Obviously, we've had the public hearing on the budget, and it will need a vote this evening. The budget does include not only the ordinance, but the capital improvement plan and the schedule of fees. Will be the things that you'll be approving tonight. I am happy to answer whatever questions the board may have.
Okay, before we do that, Ken, I know at this public hearing, do I need to do a?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So before we go to the board with any questions from the board or comments, we'll go and open the public hearing. If there's anybody here tonight, again, that would like to speak in favor or against the coming year's budget. Anyone, okay? If not, then we'll close the public hearing and then we'll go to the board if the board has any questions for Ken or comments or whatever you guys would like to bring to the table.
I do, Ken. Okay, as far as, I know we need, equipment and stuff for the different public works and the fire department, just different things. But as far as the the COLA and the 2% retention bonus, is there any way you can do either or? Because they've got one every year. Do one this year and the opposite the next year, or, and the only reason I'm saying that because I believe in if they work hard, they receive a bonus, whatever. But the people not seeing stuff. You get what I'm saying? The community. So I was just wondering if you could switch that. I mean, if that's something that could be switched in the budget.
So that's an excellent question, and as a board, if you want to, you can improve the budget with the exception of one thing, or you can improve the budget with the addition of something. It's just something, as a board, you'll decide, you'll make the motion, and that motion carries. I will say, yes, that can be done. I think there's a good case for both the COLA and the retention bonus, because we're seeing those issues with 22% turnover, especially with our public works and fire positions. And the COLA is basically just keeping staff up with where inflation's not eating their paycheck. So it would not be my recommendation, but as a board, you all can make that decision to cut something out of the budget or put something in.
And another, that's good, but I was just saying, the people are not seeing, they're getting a what? That's a 16% increase on their water and sewer. If you add
Well,
the 6
it
and the
averages
10.
out to about 8% on the average bill.
Okay.
And that's according to Riftelis, what they presented to us on April 30th. But no, you do have a valid point. We are going up on our water and sewer rates.
But that's a rate that's gonna increase every year till 32, is that correct?
The water.
Water and sewer. Water and sewer.
Well, and water and sewer should increase every year because you have to at least keep up with inflation. So outside of the structure of what Riftelis has structured for us, there will always be some kind of increase to water and sewer.
Anything else we wanna talk about?
Yeah, I'd like to make, I'm gonna read a prepared statement.
Okay.
Let me first state as commissioner, I'm proud of the team and their accomplishments. The town continues to run smoothly and efficiently, giving our fast-paced growth. We're living in exciting yet challenging times. As I have stated in the past, our citizens continue to deal with the same financial stressors as everyone else. A turbulent economy where every penny needs to be stretched to its limit and beyond. This budget, although reasonable on most fronts, fails to address, in my opinion, more direct impact to the citizen taxpayer. It does address some needs regarding sidewalk addition, street paving, infrastructure. However, we will quickly fall behind if more is not done in this arena. Also, although the budget is balanced and we continue to build fund balance, just like any other business, it is okay to look at everything and make sure we are strong for the rainy days that are sure to come. We do continue to enjoy incredible economic growth, but it is okay to hit the brakes a little from time to time. I hope we continue to be mindful of that as a board. I hope that we will put infrastructure on the fast track for sidewalks and paving lest we fall behind. My concerns have been expressed in the past couple of meetings, and I continue to express them tonight. This is not the time for salary increases. I'm happy that the board has been able to be generous over the past couple of budgets to our staff when other municipalities have not been so much. For that, I'm grateful. I want to express my deepest appreciation to town staff and the entire team. I'm sure that everyone understands the economy and its toll that all citizens are enduring. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to amend the current budget recommendations and eliminate salary increases with the exception of part-time staff and reduce water rate increase to 3% and sewer to 5%. That is a motion.
So is there a discussion on that motion? Does anybody want to?
Can you repeat it just one more
Say
time?
that
Sure.
last part again. I didn't hear
Yes,
all that.
amending the budget to eliminate salary increases
with the exception of part-time staff salary increase, and reduce water rate increase to 3% and sewer rate to 5%. From 6 and 10.
I'll second that.
Okay.
So any discussion on that from other board members? I know-
And I just want to make sure I understand fully where we're coming. COLA gone, retention bonus gone, no increase of the current salary advertised for fire department full-time. Those would be the three main things? Am I hitting that right? I just wanted to make sure.
But keep part-time.
But keep the ones for part-time staff. Okay.
So I do have a question for Ken on that. If we on the water and sewer, if we go to 3% and 5%, what is that gonna do? Because I know that that's a business.
Yeah.
And if you don't do the increase, is that gonna cover our expenses there?
No, so we'll have to make cuts. But I can't tell you based on that percentage, how much money that would be.
When you make cuts in a water, where would you cut in a water and sewer plant? How does that work?
Unless I'm given specific direction, it would be my discretion where the budget gets cut.
So, any other discussion from the board on the motion and the second that are on the table?
It's more like I want to see the overall picture of how that's going to affect everything really before I throw my weight one way or another towards it. I get exactly where you're coming from. We hear from our citizens on a daily basis, water and sewer rates are always going to be increasing, and that's difficult for everybody, specifically for people on fixed incomes, specifically for people in minimum wage jobs. All of those things are always going to affect them. At the same time, we have the responsibility of making sure that that business is running and is paying for itself, and that we are doing all of the improvements we need to do to keep it running well. As far as the raises, I get it. I'm a state employee. I went through about 8 years without a dime being tossed to me for inflation, health insurance constantly going up. So I understand what that is to the average person who's not getting those kind of increases. I think my biggest concern is the water and sewer. We're not exactly, though, on a timetable where we can spend another couple of meetings trying to figure this out either. Anybody else have anything?
Well,
Did you have something, Justin?
I was just thinking, could we compromise on that 3% and 5% some?
Can we compromise on what? I couldn't hear.
The 3% and 5%.
I mean, there's a motion on the floor and a second. If you so chose to amend the motion, you could. I don't know where you came, the numbers, if you just reduced them, I don't know where, what would need to happen to make up
As
for
far
it.
as the raise or the retention?
Yeah.
Right.
Might need this. Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So the proposed is, what is it again on water and sewer?
6 and 10.
6 and 10. So we basically cut it in half to 3 and 5.
How do we sit time-wise, Ken, as far as if we decided to table this for a period? I mean, we're literally looking at, 3.5 weeks before we need to statutorily pass a budget? Somewhere in that range?
Well, yes, in order to charge that rate beginning on July 1, we would have to have a decision before then.
Right.
But the board could have another meeting in June if you wanted to do that.
There are parts of Carl's motion I completely agree with. There are parts I'm not sure about. I still feel like I'm doing my job for the citizens unless I see where we think those cuts are gonna come and we see what those numbers are gonna be. Does that sound crazy, or?
No,
What
that
would
makes
that-
sense.
If we stayed at 6 and 10, what would that look like for next year? That you asked the question about long-term.
There's increases going through,
Basically that same increase.
Right.
But it's
to
gonna,
32.
but is it gonna be that same increase to 32?
I think so. I think there's a couple of years where it's a bigger increase.
rather than guess. let me
Municipal
see if I've
government
got the
I think that would be my
inaction.
question.
Presentation.
Well, I think we're gonna look at a different way to generate money.
So the issue is, do we want to push through something tonight, or do we want to have
We
another
wanna
meeting and
have
look at
another
it?
meeting, I think.
How do you feel? I completely
I
see where you're
can
coming from.
adjust the amendment, I just wanna get clarity. I don't think we got a clear, I think we got an unacceptable answer from Raftellus when they handed us a pre-written sheet about what they thought we ought to do. So I'm not happy with them. We all got that information. I thought that was
So I have an answer for your question. So if we do
an issue. So,
25, if you look at the 25, that's the 6 and 10. 26 is 6 and 10. 27 is 4 and 10. 28 is 3 and 10. What you end up doing is you delay the pain. At some point, you're going to end up having to do a double-digit increase in water and sewer.
Paying for it yourself out of general fund.
Yeah, but we can't pay for it out of general fund.
can't come out of general fund.
Can't do, would you have to cut
Give
something
me
in the
those
capital
numbers again.
improvement?
Yeah,
fund
I'm
then?
sorry. It's gonna stay next year.
So
Or
25,
we
20,
still look at commercial rate and residential rate.
so 24, 25, this coming year is 6 and 10, water and sewer. The following year is 6 and 10. The year after that is 4 and 10. And then it goes down to 3 and 10, and then it's 3%, which is basically inflation. That's your standard inflationary rate is 3. And these rate increases position us to be ready for when the new water plant goes online, and we're having part of that responsibility as well.
It's just 6 and 10.
And being a water customer is gonna be different than being a water producer. That's,
Let me,
that's the downside of it.
let me take the liberty of restating the motion. Seeing what I'm seeing from 29 to 33, I'll restate the motion. I'll make a motion to amend the current budget recommendation and eliminate salary increases with the exception of part-time staff. Period.
So no,
So you have an
nothing,
amended motion.
so nothing on the water and sewer.
That's correct.
Yeah, I need that.
So we have an amended motion on the floor from Carl.
You second?
I just wanted to switch.
So we have a motion and a second.
I still
I'll
wanna,
second.
I still think the regular retention bonus should stay, the COLA shouldn't. We shouldn't have that.
What about the changes in the fire
I-
department salary?
Oh, now, like the last meeting, I think we should continue to work to get them in, see what else we can do for another year. Because we're getting ready to grow, so that means we're gonna have to hire more people with all these houses to work fire. And then, are we gonna be able to afford paying everybody that come in that high salary? I would wait. Why is everybody looking at me? I would wait.
Just thinking.
We need it, and we're gonna need more people, because
Well, we
we're
have
growing
the-
extremely fast.
We have the ability to change those salaries anytime we choose
Yes,
to.
so I would wait right at this moment, but that's just how I feel. That's
Well,
just-
that's fine.
can
That
always
sounds
come-
like that's a consensus then
I don't know,
between you three. For sure.
between who? Me?
Yeah. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying that's a consensus already.
Well, we got a motion and a second.
You gotta call the question.
Yeah, so we got a motion. Can you restate your motion, Carl?
Yep. Make a motion to amend the current budget recommendations and eliminate salary increases with the exception of part-time staff.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, second.
There's a second from Justin. Is there any other discussion? If not, then all those in favor say aye,
Aye.
and all those opposed say no.
No.
So that passes
Wait.
4.
Wait a minute. But you didn't put into where I think they get the, mine is I think they get the
So
retention.
his motion on the floor didn't include
It
that.
didn't include me, yeah.
So are you still voting for that motion?
Yeah.
So that still passes 4-1.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. Just one.
So, moving on to the next item on the agenda, communications from boards, commissions. We have a proclamation of Parks and Grounds Week. Whereas the Parks and Grounds Department is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the town of Mocksville, and
Mayor?
whereas,
We didn't close the public hearing, and
Oh, I thought we did.
we adopted the, we
Oh,
closed
yeah,
the,
because nobody wanted to talk. Oh,
closed the
Oh,
public
okay.
hearing for the public, and then the board
Okay.
adopted
Okay,
the
okay.
fiscal year budget, within them. Is that correct?
got it, sir. I got it.
Okay.
Right.
So now we're gonna move on to item number 6, which is a proclamation for Parks and Grounds Week 2024. Whereas the Parks and Grounds Department provides a variety of services to our community, and such as enhancing the beauty and usability of the town's parks and grounds. And whereas the Parks and Grounds Department is responsible for overseeing the maintenance of all town parks, fields, playgrounds, buildings, the cemetery, and 27 satellite locations. And whereas our Parks and Grounds provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff Parks and Grounds Department is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now therefore be it resolved that I, the mayor of the town of Mocksville, call upon all citizens, patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of June 16th through 24th as Parks and Grounds Appreciation Week. Thank you, Chris Vaughn, and for all you guys do for Parks and Recreation. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. We just need a motion to approve the minutes and the financials.
Second.
I have a motion from Carl and a second from Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Moving on, there's no old business. New business, first item to consider is an update to the Economic Development Incentive Scorecard. Ken?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you all have a packet in, or a memo and a couple of items in your packet. This changes the scorecard for economic development when we have projects that come into the community and they want to ask the county board of commissioners and the town board of commissioners for a financial incentive. So the changes to that is it adds a category 4, and that covers new full-time jobs of 100 or more, new capital investment of 100 million or more. It also changes the average annual wage for Davie County to be more percentage-based, whether it exceeds the county wage by a certain percentage. And the guidelines on page 2 of the actual policy go from 70% to 80%. So it's still a 3-year incentive. Instead of starting at 70%, it would start at 80, 70, 60 for tier 4. And these are truly the bigger community changer projects. The county has already adopted these changes in April, and since 2019, we have been in lockstep evaluating this the same way the county does, which I think is a strength for the community.
So any questions for Ken on this item?
I move that we approve the revisions to the Economic Development Incentive Scorecard and Business Development Grant Guidelines.
So a motion from Carl and a second from motion from Rob and a second from Jenny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number B, consider NLC service line program agreement.
Yes, back in May, Ashley with the company came and did a Zoom presentation on this. This is insurance for water and sewer lines. If the board approves this, they will be able to do direct marketing to our customers. Basically for external water lines, it's $6.99 a month, external sewer line, it's $7.99 a month, and in-house plumbing is $9.99 per month. They will only do insurance for residential sites up to 4 units. Anything larger than that, they don't do. This is owner only, but owners can secure a policy for a property that they're using as rental property. So some of the systems, they've got a good mix of really big systems, medium-sized systems, and small systems. So they've got Charlotte and Mooresville, they've got Eden and Hendersonville, and a lot of little systems like us.
So there's no cost to the town.
There's no cost to the town. There is a little bit of a revenue stream, but I only anticipate that to be about $1,500 a year. And I would suggest that we use that money to replace cleanouts whenever we do the I for the sewer thing and make that a benefit for the customer.
And this just gives them the ability to market it.
Yes, yes.
Make a motion.
We have a motion from Jenny and a second from Carl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number C, consider the resolution supporting the NCODT all-way stop improvement at Milling Road.
So, the mayor and I talked to you all at the last meeting about our discussion with DOT and how we can make that intersection safer. So what they have lighted on is the always stop. And this is simply a resolution saying the board supports that as a solution and you would like NCDOT to proceed with that.
Doesn't move the needle per se, though. It doesn't move the needle per se.
No, it just lets them know that we're open to them coming in and using that as a solution, because the light, as you recall from the discussion, we don't meet the requirements for a traffic light. And the cost of upgrading that intersection for just 2 lanes is gonna be almost $1 million.
And we did meet with them this past week about other items, and one big thing is they don't have any money doing projects with. This right here would be a very, very inexpensive way to solve a problem. This is their problem too, and they would love to do it. I think this would show this board support for it.
Good.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Jenny,
Second.
second from Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Item number D, consider the MTDA second bylaws amendment. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. Tonight, I am asking the Board to amend the MTDA bylaws to change the number of members from 6 to 7. Also changing the following terms: 3 board members appointed for 3 years, 3 board members appointed for 2 years, and 1 board member appointed for 1 year. Going down to section 5, I will be adding minutes to my duty as chair, along with developing the agenda, signing all bonds, contracts, and other instruments to be executed on behalf of the MTDA. In section 3 for voting, we're removing the section for voting via telephone since we are no longer doing virtual meetings. Votes that are being voted during your virtual meetings do not count.
Okay, any questions for, is there anything else on that, Jenny, or is that, okay, any questions for Jenny?
Mayor, I do have a sidebar item. Jennifer and I and Al have been talking, and there's no specific rules in the bylaw that says the chairperson does not vote. It specifically says that the finance officer is ex officio and has a vote in case of a tie. But then in this section, it says all members of the MTA board have 1 vote. So I'd like to know what the intent of the board is in Jennifer's position on the MTDA board, and whether the board intends for her to have a vote.
Well, and I had the opportunity of coming to the last meeting they had, and there's lots of folks on that board, and a lot of them sometimes can't make it for whatever reason. It would be nice if Jenny had the ability to vote at those meetings. So that's just my input there.
Need a motion?
We do need a
Let's go
motion.
move on.
Okay, we have a motion from Johnny, item number D, to adopt the MTDA second bylaws amendment revising section 1, section 5, officers in the board, and section 3, voting. I just need a second.
Second.
Second from Justin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Jennifer. You're also up for item number E, to consider the MTDA resolutions amendment.
I am also asking the Board to amend the MTDA resolution. Now be it resolved, the MTDA shall be comprised of 7 members instead of 6, serving terms as appointed by the Town Council. 2 seats shall be reserved for individuals affiliated with businesses that collect the tax within the municipal limits of the town of Mocksville, and at least 4 seats shall be reserved for individuals who are active in promoting travel and tourism in the town of Mocksville, with remaining seats being town board's choice. The initial term for the 7th member will be 1 year.
Any questions for Jennifer on this one? Al, did you have something?
I have a comment.
Okay.
The bylaws are all very well, but where the town board of commissioners should specify how the MTDA board members vote is in the adopting resolution.
So we need to add that to it.
So if you're gonna change how people vote, it should be in the resolution. And it's not here, you can change the resolution at any meeting, but the resolution is what controls. The resolution is the creation and governance of the MTDA by this board, because that's the authority the General Assembly gave you, or gave the board years ago. I didn't say that I can say it again.
No, that makes perfect sense.
So help me understand, are we going back to item number D where we talk,
No.
are we just
No.
voting, or are we still
Just on
on
the
item C?
resolution.
So consider the resolution.
No, I'm saying this needs to be amended about voting, if not now, at the next meeting.
So
Can we amend this and then bring the voting back in July? Amend it again?
Yes, that would be fine, but it needs to be in the resolution, not in addition to the bylaws.
It might just be easier to table it
So
until
can we
it's
just-
all in there.
let's get a motion to table.
Okay.
That work, and then we'll put it on the next. So we have a motion from Carl and a second from Justin to
Just the-
table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we'll talk about that at the next meeting. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Keeping us straight. Item number F, consider ABC Board reappointment, Benny Randall, or new ABC Board appointment, Chris Demansky or Troy Tyner. Lynn?
Yes, board, mayor, board members, you have in your packet 3 applications. One would be a reappointment, Benny Randall, and then there's 2 new applicants, Chris Demansky and Troy Tyner, for appointments.
So any discussion from the board?
I've had the chance, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I've had the chance to look through all the applications and actually talk to a number of the individuals. I would move that we appoint Chris Demansky to the ABC board.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All those,
How many seats is open?
Just one, right now.
did you have some discussion, Jenny? Okay.
I just wondered how many seats yeah.
Just one.
So we do have a motion
Currently, just.
and a second. Do you
That's
have,
up for reappointment, right?
You got 3?
no, there's 3 going for 1 seat.
Right.
One is somebody who's already on there that,
Have we had any complaints for that one? I don't know. Can we ask that? No? Yeah,
I mean,
no?
you can.
Yes,
We have?
I've heard many. So a motion and a second?
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. So Chris Demansky will move on to the ABC board. Item number G, consider adopting the budget amendment number 13 to Enterprise Fund. Lynn?
Yes, this is the end of the year budget amendments. I had most of them in the May meeting. So this meeting was $43,000 for the enterprise fund, and the reasons are below the expenditures if you had any questions.
So any questions on this?
Move that we approve that budget amendment.
Okay.
Second.
Motion from Rob and a second from Jenny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number H, consider adopting the budget amendment number 14 to the general fund.
Yes, these are the general fund budget amendments for the end of the year totaling $37,000. Just like enterprise fund, most of them were done in May, and the reasons are below the expenditures.
Any questions for Lynn on this one?
Motion to adopt budget amendment number 14 in the amount of $37,000.
Motion from Carl and a second from Johnny Fry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And finally, item number I on this page, consider the resolution awarding the contract 16.0 to Phoenix Fabricators. Chuck.
2 weeks ago, we took bids for the long-awaited north elevated storage tank. We've been talking about this project for
Long time.
a long time. We had to defer construction of this project a couple times because it was just not available financially, but I think we had some grant funding come in for the project, and the time is right for it. As you know, growth in the north service area continues. Phoenix Fabricators is a long time tank erection company out of Louisville, Kentucky. The bids were very competitive, and we feel very good about Phoenix, so we're recommending award of the contract.
So I do have one question, Chuck. Two of the bids looks like were from Phoenix. One was higher than the other.
So what we do on these tanks, under state statute, we're required to receive at least 3 bids in a public bid opening to open. And so we kind of allow different models of tank to be bid, and we allow the bidders to bid more than one style of tank.
Okay.
In this case, we wound up having more than 3 companies. In some cases, we don't. So we want to see what the price comparison is between a steel tank and a concrete pedestal tank. Their competitive status varies over the years based on the price of steel primarily. At this point, steel tanks are slightly less expensive than the concrete pedestals in this size, but as I said, it does vary. So we wanted to get both prices on the table and really see what was happening out there.
So any questions from the board to Chuck on this?
Are these anywhere close to your estimates?
No,
Something told me that was a no.
the price of steel construction just continues to skyrocket. So,
But you're comfortable with the money bid?
Okay.
I move that we approve the resolution awarding the contract to Phoenix Fabricators and Erectors.
So we have a motion from Rob,
Second.
second from Carl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously.
Always take a deep breath when you spend $3.8 million.
A lot of that's coming, I think, by that grant.
Yes.
yes.
That's
Grants
good.
are
That's
taken
gonna,
care
that's a good project. Any time thoughts or how that play out?
They're actually planning to do some of the site work early. You know, they get the site prepared before the tank comes, but the tank probably won't be here for a year. So basically, we take bids and then get in line, wait for our steel.
Okay. I think, Chuck, you'll be coming up here shortly, but before that, item number J, consider amending North Elevated Tank Capital Project Ordinance, and that's Lynn.
Yes, once the bids were open and then y'all awarded the bid, the capital improvement project had to be amended to add the construction of the contract, the contingency, the engineering fees. So the total project is gonna be $4,190,309, and then the municipal funds is $1,028,086. So we had to amend the capital project after you awarded the contract.
Move that we officially amend the North Elevated Tank Capital Project Ordinance after awarding the construction contract to include the contingency and adding engineering costs of $336,000.
So a motion from Rob, a second from Carl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number K, consider resolution awarding the contract 15.0 to BRS. Chuck?
Again, another long-awaited project. This project is replacement of the small pump station at the South Point Business Park, which allows for continued growth up in the northern service area, and extension of the first phase of force main with larger capacity that matches with the pumps. The contractor, in this case, BRS Incorporated, it really surprised me that they even showed up on bid day. I'm nowhere near my estimate on this one either. I'm actually, this is actually about $600,000 under the estimate. And you're benefiting from a phenomenon. The city of Charlotte has overextended themselves. Charlotte Water is rumored to be several $100 million in the red because of cost overruns, and they've canceled a bunch of projects. BRS is one of their favorite contractors. They've had several tens of millions of dollars worth of work canceled on them. And they're reeling, looking for things to do with their staff. They were low bidder on another project for me last month, and they're anxious to get going because they need a place to put a really good crew.
They build elevated tanks.
They're pipeliners. They're pipeliners, but they're really struggling to find places to put people, and so they basically went and low bid this one, said that they could keep the crew busy, and they're ready to
This
roll.
one's
And
gotta
they're
move.
one of-
You're
This one's gotta
comfortable.
move.
They're one of my favorite contractors, actually.
That's an easy one. I move that we award the contract 15.0 to BRS.
So I have a motion from Robin, a second from Jenny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And finally, Lynn, consider amending the South Point Pump Station and Force Main Capital Project Ordinance.
Did you? Do what? Yeah, she's gonna have to pass them out.
Okay.
I did not, no, that's the award that. I did not get the amended capital project in there for y'all to see, so I wanted her to pass this out and make sure you saw what I amended. So you awarded the contract, and now we're amending the capital, project
Right.
to add, the contract, construction contract, the contingency, and the engineering totaling $1,537,777
$777.
for the total project.
Any questions for Lynn on this?
Make a motion.
So we have a motion from Jenny to approve,
Second.
second from Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And finally, communications from town staff. Al Benshoff.
Thank you, Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to decline to speak further tonight.
Thank you for declining. Ken Gamble.
Just one thing, Mayor. The mayor and I met with Carter Spradling and Philip Craver with NCDOT. The board has been interested in this ongoing conversation about rail lines. So we discussed that with them. This is going to be one of those generational projects where we will pay attention to it in the STIP process. We are nowhere near even talking about it. Right now, they're in feasibility and trying to figure out the routes, but we are making sure that we've got our finger on the pulse when there comes a time for us to throw our name in the hat. But it's definitely a rail corridor coming right down through Davie County. That's a possible candidate for passenger rail at some point in the future. And that's all I have.
So nothing else from town staff. Communications from the board. Jenny, do you have any?
Yes, I just want to thank all the town for everything that you do. Works really hard. I thank you, Ken, for getting everything situated and printed out and explained really good. But I thank the board for just coming together and I think making good decisions for the town. I just appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Jenny.
Ken, another transparent budget process. You make the process easy. It's a lot of work, but you make it easy at the end. Appreciate everything the town does. Governing is hard business and making hard decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Same, Patrick, Robertson, when it's tough calls sometimes. We, this commissioner does appreciate everything you guys do. I know this is tough sometimes, but we represent a large constituency. I'll try to make the best decisions.
Yeah, I agree with all of y'all too. And Ken, I appreciate all the hard work you've put in. I know it's a lot of work. We've seen it every month since February, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
Johnny?
I agree. Thank you.
So Dottie Graham's not here tonight, you'll notice that, but she said she really enjoys coming to the meeting and hearing Ken explain the budget, which is odd, because I can't imagine wanting to go hear somebody explain the budget. That speaks highly to Ken and the staff and all that they've done to prepare the budget and get us ready. And I know that the board made some tough decisions, and I know that you guys are looking out for the taxpayers and the citizens. Jenny, this past Saturday, Jenny and Renee, I know that that was a collaboration, but downtown Mocksville was the most crowded I've ever seen it, and it was over the top. The model you guys have for doing a downtown event now, I think that's working, so I
Can't
would.
use that model again. Good model.
And then, Ken mentioned meeting with the DOT. We did score very highly on our Greenway plan. They just don't have any money to build it. Once there's money, maybe we'll get it, but we scored very highly, and that's something to be positive about. So we're gonna get a Greenway extension at some point in time, but just not anytime soon. But that's all that I've got. I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Rob, second from Justin. All those in favor say aye. Thank you.
The recording didn't work.
You take.
I don't need it.
I need all my bills.
Have to save it.
Well, it's funny how the state has money. I'll check my phone. They don't seem to have it.
See you, Johnny. Have a good one, man.
Jenny wants a closed session.
Thanks for coming. Were you want to speak? Did you want to speak or anything? Okay, you're just coming in. It's okay, I didn't know
It's
if you.
better to have you later than never.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Well, not tonight.
I wasn't by Dino the other day, Jim and Joe Long. Well, no kidding.
He says, hey,
Yes, I was.
yeah, David probably just talking about old times.
Well, yeah, this was, you know, I confused.
I got you, girl. How are you, darling? How's your son?
He's good.
Is he good? Tell him I said.
Seizure this summer.
That's what I heard. Tell him I said, hey.
Good to see you, Johnny, as always.
All right. What? I do. I really do. 2 weeks is about all I go anymore.
2 weeks?
Yeah, I can't stand it.
just
Once
saying
it
right
starts,
here.
once